The year is 1957 at DeWitt Clinton High School. A young boy is asked about his life goal in his yearbook. Millionaire, he mentioned. This story is of an American boy who, after growing up in an impoverished Bronx neighborhood, went from rags to riches, amassing a $7 billion fortune. Despite his humble beginnings, he was always ambitious. The Army veteran and former clerk made his fortune through his Polo clothing line, which he founded in 1968. So, who is this man behind the fashion house fortune? Ralph Lauren, both the man and the brand, is the true rags-to-riches American dream fable, beginning with rags that were then made into ties. With the embroidered pony, aspiration has never been far from the brand. Lauren was the constant creative force behind the fashion house he started, literally out of the drawer in a cramped space in the Empire State Building for 48 years. His distinct vision of preppy, aspirational Americana is so strong that the New England look has defined and solidified itself as an important pillar of American fashion. Ralph Lauren's first forays into fashion and business began at DeWitt Clinton High School, where he was born as an insecure kid to Ashkenazi Jews from the Soviet Union, Belarus. Ralph's family was not well off, so he escaped his boring life by immersing himself in the fantasy world of the cinema. He changed his name to Lauren in his late teen years after years of teasing because of his surname. Ralph Lauren's real life described how the youngster used his vivid imagination to enter the fictional worlds of film legends such as Cary Grant and Gary Cooper. Lauren's imagination was instrumental in his success in the fashion industry. He'd worked at Alexander's, a now defunct chain of stores in New York City, in the evenings, but during the day, he'd upsell handmade ties to fellow students for a $7 to $10 markup. Lauren attended evening classes at Brooklyn's Baruch Church after high school and 2 years into the United States Army Reserves, where he also repeated his enterprise tie-selling business to fellow students before becoming a neckwear salesman at Brooks Brothers. Lauren soon began thinking about designing and making his own neckwear, with Brooks Brothers' Ivy League aesthetic influencing his designs. The Lauren look was solidified in the designer's mind while stepping out of the store and running into 1930s film star Douglas Fairbanks Jr., wearing his double-breasted suit with spread-collar shirt, completely contrasting with the cookie-cutter clothes of the mid-60s Manhattan. Lauren was denied time to work on his own designs by Brooks Brothers, forcing him to approach several other manufacturers before landing an upscale New York neckwear boutique, Beau Brummel. Lauren was essentially working out of a drawer in 1967 when he created and sold pieces directly from their Empire State Building showroom. Seeing his first polo match sparked his entrepreneurial spirit. He went with a friend, Warren Hellstein, who described being exposed to fabulous things including horses, silver, leather, tall blondes with big hats, and high society. Lauren was inspired to create an elegant and high-class brand, which became known as Polo Ralph Lauren. Launching the company was a huge risk because he only had a high school diploma and a handful of business classes, despite dropping out of the City University of New York midway through his courses. At this point, married with 3 children, 1967 also marks the birth of the Ralph Lauren brand. Despite the fact that polo was synonymous with his fashion house and name, the man had never set foot on a polo field. "My symbol was always a polo player because I liked sports, and polo has a stylishness to it," he once told Oprah in an interview. With the support of Beau Brummel, he quickly began to expand, presenting his designs to various department stores in Manhattan. When he approached Bloomingdale's, however, he initially declined their offer because it would have required him to reduce his characteristic wider European tie width and replace his name with that of Bloomingdale's in-house, Sutton East. His next big bet was designing wide, colorful ties in a time when plain and narrow was in. His unconventional approach paid off. He won over Bloomingdale's and sold $500,000 in ties in his first year. Despite his rapid rise to the top, he didn't remain stagnant, instead expanding his company. He believed in enjoying the moment while also remaining focused and moving forward. When it came to clothing, he created designs that he would want to wear himself. He imagined himself dressed in movie star attire. "You couldn't buy the things I made. They were nowhere to be found," he stated in an interview. He refused taking his business elsewhere. Bloomingdale's ordered an entire rack and case of his ties 6 months later. Lauren introduced the world to the short-sleeve collared sports shirt featuring his embroidered polo pony on the chest in 1972, 2 years after launching his own full fashion line and a year after his first collection for women. He began in menswear and introduced his first tailored shirts for women in 1971, complete with his now famous polo player emblem. The same year, he opened his Beverly Hills store on Rodeo Drive. His signature cotton polo shirt was introduced in 1972, and his fragrance line debuted at Bloomingdale's in March 1978. In 1986, he opened his flagship store on Madison Avenue and 72nd Street in New York. Lauren debuted his iconic Polo shirt line in 1992, followed by additional lines and acquired brands like Ralph Lauren Purple Label in 1995. On June 12, 1997, his company went public on the New York Stock Exchange. The brand expanded internationally and diversified its range over the next 3 decades, launching colognes, denim lines, and luxury labels. In terms of streetwear iconography, however, the rise of hip-hop in the 1980s and 1990s coincided with the release of 2 of the label's most recognizable motifs. The first sweater with the American flag on it hit the market in 1989. Lauren received a Steiff teddy bear as a birthday gift around the same time while dressed in a teddy bear-sized polo outfit. He soon placed an order with Steiff, and his stores began carrying the bear. Lauren began incorporating the motif into his knitwear and sweater designs in 1991. Lauren worked with a young design consultant named Naomi Leff, with whom he had previously worked on Ralph Lauren Home to recreate the building's original opulence. The Polo sport line debuted in 1992, followed by more than 10 other lines and acquired brands, including Ralph Lauren Purple Label in 1995 and Lauren Ralph Lauren in 1996. In 2000, RL Media, a collaboration between Ralph Lauren and NBC, launched its website and online store as Polo.com. Ralph Lauren Corporation purchased NBC's stake in RL Media in 2007, and the website was renamed RalphLauren.com. The brand was reported to be struggling in some quarters in June 2016. Analysts blamed discounting and lower-end products, claiming they tarnished the company's image, as well as a failure to attract younger customers. In response, the designer launched wearable tech in the form of a fitness technology shirt combined with a mobile app in 2017. Polo Tech's Smart Shirt athletic apparel was the first to use physical tracking technology. It had sensors that tracked the wearer's heart rate, breathing, stress level, and calories burned. Polo Sport was able to compete with Nike, Adidas, and other leading sports brands thanks to data streaming to an app that generated customized workout programs. Ralph Lauren employs over 10,000 people today, with 388 stores worldwide and a $2.02 billion annual revenue, with its business still headquartered in New York. However, for such a staple of American fashion, the man reluctantly employs the term. I've never wanted to work in the fashion industry, because if you're in fashion, you'll soon be out of it. The designer, now 82, is reaping the benefits of his efforts. The kid who wanted to be a millionaire is now a multi-billionaire with homes on Long Island, Jamaica, Bedford, and Manhattan, as well as a 17,000-acre ranch in Colorado. He has one of the world's most valuable car collections. For me, owning a rare and magnificently designed car gives a different kind of experience, he once said. You can enjoy the machine's beauty as well as the journey it takes you on. He believes that having style rather than following fashion is the key to his success. Fashion's over quickly. Style endures. The man said it perfectly. Ralph Lauren, like all great bosses, had an unwavering vision of what American fashion should look like. However, with that self-assurance came the ability to attract world-class talent. The more talent he had, the brighter his light shone, and he was always aware that it was his concept and his business first and foremost. He always had the confidence to know that, but he was always looking for the best talent he could find. And with that being said, it's time to end our video. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. We'll see you with another interesting story.